A city conquered 29 times, 3 different empires, 2 continents at the same time, and an architectural secret that modern engineers are still trying to decipher. Constantinople was not just a city, it was the center of the world for over 1,000 years. And what happened to it changed the course of human history forever. Imagine a metropolis with 500,000 inhabitants when Paris had only 25,000. A city where you could buy silk from China, spices from India, and gold from Africa, all in the same market. Constantinople possessed a sewage and piped water system that many European cities would only achieve 400 years later. Its walls were considered impregnable. Its port was the busiest on the planet, and its cathedral had such a grand dome that, when completed, it was said to hang from the sky by a golden chain. For centuries, Constantinople was synonymous with wealth, power, and absolute sophistication. It was the New York, London, and Dubai of the medieval era, all rolled into one. And there was a very specific reason for that. It all began in 324 AD, when Emperor Constantine made the most strategic decision in ancient history. He chose a small Greek city called Byzantium and decided to transform it into the new capital of the Roman Empire. The location was perfect, between Europe and Asia, controlling the Bosphorus Strait, the only maritime passage between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Whoever controlled that piece of land controlled trade between East and West. Constantine wasn't just changing a capital, he was repositioning the chessboard of world power. In 6 years, an entire city was built. Palaces, hippodromes, aqueducts, gigantic cisterns, monumental forums. Constantinople was inaugurated in 330 AD with a ceremony that lasted 40 days. And from the very first moment, it was different. It was a Roman city, but it spoke Greek. It was Christian, but it preserved pagan architecture. It was Eastern, but it thought like the West. This mixture created something unique in history. When Rome fell in 476 AD, Constantinople not only survived, it thrived. While Europe plunged into the Dark Ages, Constantinople shone. Its universities preserved Greek and Roman texts that would be lost forever in the West. Its artisans developed mosaic techniques that have never been equaled. Its diplomats created international espionage as we know it today. And its soldiers used a secret weapon called Greek fire, a substance that burned even in water, and whose manufacturing secret died with the empire. Constantinople's heyday came in the 6th century, under Emperor Justinian. He ordered the construction of Hagia Sophia, the cathedral that would define religious architecture for the next 1,000 years. When the doors first opened, Justinian is said to have exclaimed, "Solomon, I have surpassed you." And he wasn't exaggerating. The dome of Hagia Sophia was 31 meters in diameter and seemed to float without visible support. The engineers of the time used special bricks, lighter than conventional ones, and developed a pendant technique that distributed weight in a revolutionary way. It was advanced mathematics applied to architecture in the 6th century. But Constantinople wasn't just about grandeur. It was also about paranoia, intrigue, and survival. The city was besieged more than 20 times throughout its history. Avars, Persians, Arabs, Bulgarians, Russians all tried to conquer it, and all failed because of ingenious military engineering. The Theodosian walls were a triple defense system, a moat, an outer wall 8 meters high, and an inner wall 12 meters high, with 96 towers distributed along 6 kilometers. It was physically impossible to breach them with the military technology of the time. During the Arab siege of 717-718, which lasted a whole year, the Arabs lost 80% of their troops trying to break through these walls. Constantinople resisted not only because of its engineering, but also because of its ability to innovate under pressure. The city developed one of the first long-distance communication systems in history, a network of towers with bonfires that transmitted messages from the border to the capital in a matter of hours. It was the telegraph of the Middle Ages. Trade was the lifeblood of Constantinople. Venetian, Genoese, Armenian, Jewish, Arab, and Russian merchants vied for space in the markets. The city's currency, the gold solidus, was accepted from England to China. It was the dollar of the Middle Ages. But the most valuable product was not gold or spices. It was silk. For centuries, China maintained an absolute monopoly on silk production, until in the 6th century, 2 monks hired by Emperor Justinian stole silkworm eggs hidden inside hollow bamboo tubes and brought them to Constantinople. It was the greatest case of industrial espionage in ancient history. From that moment on, Constantinople broke the Chinese monopoly and became the silk-producing center of the West. The wealth generated was immense, and all of this was protected by the Varangian Guard, the Vikings who served as personal bodyguards to the Byzantine emperors, Scandinavian warriors protecting Roman emperors in a Greek city in Asia. Constantinople was truly a crossroads of worlds, but nothing lasts forever. In the 13th century, a tragedy changed everything. In 1204, during the Fourth Crusade, an army that was supposed to go to Jerusalem was diverted by Venetian politicians and sacked Constantinople. Christians attacking Christians. The city was devastated. Centuries-old treasures were stolen or destroyed. Sacred relics were melted down. Ancient manuscripts were turned into fuel. Hagia Sophia was desecrated. Constantinople was occupied for 57 years. When the Byzantines finally reconquered the city in 1261, it was a shadow of its former self. The population had fallen from 400,000 to 50,000 inhabitants. The palaces were in ruins. The treasury was empty. And all around, a new power grew, the Ottoman Empire. For almost 200 years, Constantinople languished, a great imperial capital reduced to a city surrounded on all sides, surviving only by the strength of its ancient walls. Until in 1453, everything changed. Military historians claim that the siege of Constantinople in 1453 was the first major confrontation between the Middle Ages and the modern age. On one side, ancient walls and old military traditions. On the other, bronze cannons capable of firing 600-kilogram projectiles. The Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II was 21 years old and had an obsession to conquer the city that had defeated all his predecessors. He hired a Hungarian engineer named Orban, who designed the largest cannon ever built at the time. The weapon was 8 meters long and required 60 oxen and 200 men to transport it. Each shot cracked the ground. Experts in Byzantine history point out that Emperor Constantine the Great knew he was doomed. He had only 7,000 soldiers to defend 22 kilometers of walls against 80,000 Ottomans, but he refused all offers of surrender. He would fight to the end. The siege lasted 53 days. Mehmed's cannons bombarded the walls day and night, but it wasn't the cannons that decided the siege. It was human error. In the early morning of May 29, 1453, someone left open a small gate called Kirkeporta, used for counterattacks. A group of Turkish soldiers found the gate and stormed the space between the walls. The defense collapsed. Constantine the Great died fighting, and his body was never found. Cultural historians emphasize that the fall of Constantinople was a watershed moment. Byzantine scholars fled to Italy, carrying ancient Greek manuscripts. This influx of classical knowledge helped fuel the Renaissance. At the same time, the land route to Asia was cut off, forcing Europeans to seek alternative sea routes. This is how the Age of Discovery began. The fall of Constantinople literally changed the map of the world, but there's something few people know. Inside the Hagia Sophia, there's a marble column with a hole worn down by the touch of millions of hands over the centuries. Legend says that if you put your thumb inside the hole and manage to rotate your hand completely in a circle, your wish will be granted. But there's a darker prophecy associated with the place. According to Byzantine texts, when Constantinople was invaded in 1453, a priest was celebrating the liturgy in the Hagia Sophia. The moment the Ottoman soldiers broke down the doors, he took the sacred chalice and literally disappeared inside a wall. The prophecy says that when Constantinople returns to Christianity, the priest will reappear from the wall and finish the mass interrupted almost 600 years ago. Truth or legend, the fact is that the Hagia Sophia remains there, traversing empires and religions, a silent witness to a history the world insists on forgetting. Constantinople fell, but it never died. Today it is called Istanbul, and remains one of the most strategic cities on the planet. But its true legacy is not in the stones or the monuments. It lies in the ideas it preserved, the trade routes it opened, the cultural fusion it represented. Constantinople proved that a city is not just a place on the map. It is a concept, an idea that it is possible to connect different worlds, balance opposing traditions, and create something greater than the sum of its parts. For 1,000 years, it was living proof that civilization does not need homogeneity. It needs bridges, and Constantinople was the greatest bridge in history, between continents, between cultures, between eras. It reminds us that the greatest empires are not built only with armies and walls. They are built with knowledge, trade, and the audacity to imagine the impossible, and perhaps that is why, even centuries after its fall, we still talk about it. Because Constantinople was not just a city, it was a promise of what humanity can be when it dares to dream big.